highlight of my season was having a personal best World Cup place in Toblach, Italy, just after Christmas during the Tour de Ski, and my parents and my brother were there to witness it, which just was really special for me to have them there and to be able to kind of show off for them a little bit. The biggest surprise that I had this year was kind of realizing how mentally tough I was. I felt like I had lost that a little bit last year, and I was concerned that it wouldn't come back, but I kind of surprised myself, and I was able to find a place where I could push myself harder and stay really mentally strong, and that was great. Something that goes on behind the scenes is just how much work that goes into a pair of race skis. From the time that the technicians are spent testing wax, testing grinds, testing different ski flexes to make sure that we have the right setup for race day. I mean, they spend hours and hours and hours all week long out there testing, and then we arrive and we have to test also with them to see what feels the best for us in those conditions. And by the time you get to a start line with your skis, those skis have seen a lot of dedication and love and care. If I were to pick one category, I would say working on kind of my mental recovery from each race, because they take so much out of you physically, obviously, and you can take some naps and try to recover, eat well, fuel well, and recover from that. But really, to psych yourself up for a good race day and to get yourself through that race takes a ton of mental and emotional energy, and sometimes I think we forget how much of a toll that can take on our minds and our body. So I would love to work on just making sure that I'm prioritizing that recovery piece mentally. I remember my mantra, because you can. I actually, reminded myself of this mantra all season long, whether I was training in the summer or fall or racing in the winter. I would tell it to myself going up a hill or trying to go around a corner. I definitely would hype myself up on the start line with my mantra, so I carried it with me everywhere I went. So not new to me, but my technician for most of the season was Bernie Nelson. I had worked with Bernie for quite a bit of time back in college. She was a summer college training coach that I worked with, and now she's working as a technician with the US ski team, and I was working with her for most of January, February, and March. And it was really great to, one, reunite with her, and also just to have her as part of my support system. Not only was she supporting me with the waxing and the technician aspect to it, but she also was just a huge mental, physical support, giving me a hug after every race, encouraging me to kind of keep on pushing and believing in myself. There was a period of time in December when everyone got into knitting. We were in Lillehammer, Norway, and Norway just is big. Norwegians love to knit. They make homemade mittens all the time and sweaters, and so in Lillehammer there are knitting stores like every other store. There's yarn and needles ready to go, and I had learned how to knit when I was really young, but I hadn't really done it for many years, so I re-picked up the hobby of knitting and made a couple hats that were fun to keep me distracted. I felt very relieved when I finished the last events of the season. It was a long season, and I felt really great up until about like the last 2.5 weeks of it, and I was kind of ready to come home. It had been a long season on the road, and so when I finally finished my last race, it was a 50-kilometer race, so it was a very long race in Lahti, and by the time I got to the finish line, I felt like it was good to be at the finish line. I'm taking a little spring break vacation this month in April. I'm gonna go out to Colorado and do some spring alpine skiing and backcountry skiing and see lots of friends and family and just kind of reconnect with people who I didn't get to see or chat with much this winter because I was on the road for 5 months. So I'm excited for that. Thanks!
I think the highlight of my season was getting to compete in my first World Champs. It was in Trondheim, Norway, which I think makes it extra special just because Norwegian championship, the country takes it super seriously in terms of spectators and fans. And they were saying for the 50K there was 120,000 fans out, and I think you could really feel that just every day. The crowds were so loud, and it reminded me a lot of Minneapolis. Minneapolis I think was still more special, but I think to compete in my first World Champs and have it be in such a legendary venue in Trondheim was really cool. There were periods where it felt like two weeks felt like 2 months, and then also, you get to the end of the season and you feel like it just flew by. So for me it was it was surprising to feel how time at different points in the year felt so different. I had never been so long out of the US before. I basically was away from home from November 5th to now April 1st. And it was pretty weird to live out of a bag that long and to go that long without seeing my family and my friends and to not even have a single day at home in between. I would say just all the work that they do with the skis. I think when you watch the race, you see the athletes with one pair of skis, one pair of poles, and that's kind of the finished product. But leading up to that race, my wax tech and I were usually testing anywhere from 4 to 6 pairs before the race, and that's just what I'm doing. They are in the truck testing all sorts of kick wax, glide wax, structure, and all sorts of stuff. And so if I start a race at, say, 11 a.m., the work for that race has almost already started by 7 a.m. just in the waxing department. So there's a lot of work that goes into it behind the scenes that people never see. I do think tactical, honestly. For me, I would say sprinting has often been one of my better events, and this year I was pretty consistently qualifying for sprints, but still struggling to get out of the first round. And I think a lot of that comes to actually tactics and just strategy. Because I, for a long time, thought if you were fast enough, if you were fit enough, the rest would kind of take care of itself. But I had some really good qualification results this year that I would say indicated that I almost should move on, but I still didn't. And I think it was honestly due to a lack of strategy. When you do the qualification in a sprint day, you're racing completely alone. You ski the entire course as fast as you can with nobody around you. And then you get to the quarterfinal and you have 5 other guys in your heat. And, people are stepping on your poles, people are stepping on your skis. Everybody wants to be at the front, at a certain point on the course. So it's a lot different than just how fast you ski. It's about how you ski with people around you and where you choose to be at different points. So I think that's something that I maybe have overlooked a little bit in pursuit of getting faster and faster and faster. But now that I feel like I do have that speed, I feel like there's this next area of focus that's going to be really important. Yeah, it was make your own tracks. I think it helped me just to remember that the journey never looks exactly how you thought it would, but that doesn't necessarily mean that things are going wrong. And I had especially at the end of the season, a lot of problems with sickness, and it was easy to feel really discouraged, and especially when you see other skiers are healthy and they're racing and you're not, it's easy to compare yourself and be like, oh, why do I get sick and they don't? But I think everybody has setbacks. Sometimes they're physical, sometimes they're mental, and sometimes there's completely random things. And it's easy to feel like those things only happen to you, but I think in a journey over many years, there's going to be a lot of those things, and it's okay. And it's important to just focus on the long outcomes and long goals. No, and I think in a way, when you have had those periods, whether they're a few days or even months of really struggling, and you can come out on the other side and really overcome it, I think that's actually some of the things you look back on in the future and be really proud of and really make the experience worth it. Like, I think if everything was super easy all the time, it wouldn't be as rewarding. Yeah, I would say mainly my teammates, honestly. I think we're really lucky on the U.S. ski team with the men, especially, that we're all really good friends and we're all pretty close in age and kind of grew up skiing against each other for our whole careers. You can't choose who those people are, but I think I'm really lucky that we're all such good friends and that they all just genuinely care about me as a person. Like, we are competitors at the end of the day, but I would say first and foremost they're really good friends. Photography, I ordered a really nice camera and a few lenses, and I would say towards the end of the season got really into taking pictures, and especially when I was sick it was kind of fun because I could be on the side of the trail taking pictures of my teammates and stuff. It's been a big rabbit hole to dive down. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos on it and stuff, but I really enjoy it so far. I think it was bittersweet just because the end of the season for me was basically 2 weeks of sickness. So when I was able to finally race again at Spring Series, I felt like, it's fun to be racing again, but also my body just felt so bad from the sort of roller coaster of travel and sickness that, part of me wanted more, but the bigger part of me was just relieved and excited for a break. What's next? Just a pretty chill April, a lot of time in the cities, spending time with my wife and family and friends that I didn't get to see all winter. And just tomorrow, actually, we're going to drive up to Ironwood in Michigan and do some spring skiing, which is pretty cool. There might not be snow left in the cities, but there's a lot of places in the Midwest within a few hour drive that still have snow, so we're going to check them out. Thank you.